This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cliff Yates Show podcast. And I'm so glad you're here. And we are live tonight. You know me. I like going live. I just like the pressure of it. You don't know what's going to happen. I like watching live shows because then you know they're not overly produced. They're not overly edited. And you know what's happening is happening now. And let's face it, it's like watching a car crash. Something bad could happen. It makes it a little bit more interesting going live. And then I can take live comments from you. But if you are listening on one of the podcast platforms, the audio-only platforms, please head on over to YouTube and you can check out the video format of this podcast episode. Hey, I got a thumbs up. Good to see you. Thank you. I see you, my friend. And as always, if you haven't already, please, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and join a community of progress. That's what we got going here. Listen, I love this stuff, personal growth, self-improvement. I get excited. I start talking fast just thinking about it. I have that association with it, trying to be better every day in every way. How can I be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday? Not everybody's into that. Not everybody even wants to think about it or talk about it. They are stuck in their own, wagon trail rut of life. Well, you can get out of that rut if you're in one. And if you're doing well already, we can always try to get to that next level. We can always try to up our game. It just makes it fun. Life is fun. If you can fog up a mirror, you can actually change your perception and change your life, even if it's already great. Why not strive? There's never an end to that, right? We're always sharpening the saw. And today I was watching, I watched several, I follow a lot of people in this space of personal growth and self-improvement. And today I was watching an episode of The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. And Bob Proctor was on there. If you don't know Bob Proctor, he was involved in the movie The Secret. And at the time, he was in his 80s. Well, at the time of the interview with Lewis Howes, he was 85. And I thought, wait a minute, Bob Proctor, I know Bob passed away. I remember his son doing a video about his father passing away, and he was still selling some of his products and his books. And so I had to double check because the video Lewis put out was two days ago. And sure enough, Bob Proctor did pass away. But apparently Lewis just put out that interview. Maybe he re-put it out, but either way, it came out a couple of days ago. But it was all good stuff, and I took like 10 pages of notes. Matter of fact, I did. I took 10 pages of notes that I'm going to share with you. And I love learning about all this stuff because, and a lot of times I'm learning it over again. And you probably remember, if you've seen me before, I love learning about this stuff because I get to pass it on to you, and I love doing that for a couple different reasons. Number one, having a positive impact on other people. There's no greater joy. I love it. If you haven't done it already, try it. It goes along with the philosophy of giving. The giving is more pleasurable than the receiving. And it's become such a cliche. But you know why? Because it's so true. You feel so good about it. I even have to remind myself, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, right? Because you start going out with people and you have, the ability. So when you like to treat other people to dinner, or you like to pay the bill, and that gives you enjoyment. It gets to the point, though, but you don't allow other people the pleasure of picking up the tab for you. And it's always, no, I got this. Well, you know what? So now I remind myself, listen, don't rob other people of the pleasure of giving either. So I will let somebody else pick up the check now and then. I'll let somebody else treat me now and then because I don't want to rob them of the pleasure of giving. Well, you got some people, they never want to rob somebody the pleasure of giving, right? They're very happy to have you pick up the check. I don't hang around too much with those kind of people. You become aware of them right away. What kind? Those are the kind of people that are always taking. They're never giving, right? They always suck the energy out of the room. They're always taking from other people, and they're never giving and putting in, to the conversation, to the relationship. And so we want to limit ourselves with those people unless we can have a positive impact and maybe rescue them from that way of life. And we can do that. So today I was watching The School of Greatness. and Lewis Howes. And I just wanted to share some of those things with you. A couple of those things I've kind of already been through in my life, but I can relearn them. And as I always like to say, we can retune the piano at any time, because there's always going to be a string or two of our lives that are gotten out of tune a little bit, and we can always tune it up to put it in a music a vernacular. I can't even think of a word, but I can't believe I came up with vernacular. I talked about this the other day in a YouTube short. Write it down. Whatever you want, write it down. You got to write it down. Put it on paper, right? Whatever your desires are, your goals, your small goals, your big goals, your short-term goals, your long-term goals, write it down on a piece of paper. Look at it. Say it. You want to do those things. Why? Because it's going to be a dominating thought in your mind, and it will be imprinted on your subconscious mind. And then you'll be surprised at how the universe, the world, how God puts things in motion to make things happen in your favor. You'll look back and think, how did all these things come together? What a coincidence. And then you'll come to learn, as it keeps repeating over and over again, you'll learn, wow, these things are not coincidences. And as you learn the higher faculties in life, which enable you to have a better quality of life and share that quality of people with other people, you'll learn how to intentionally change your thoughts, your perceptions, your will, your memory, and your intuition to the point that you change everything in your life. And eventually, if it's your desire, that's how you're going to change the world. I hope you're excited. I got myself all jazzed up. I didn't even look at any of my notes yet, except for that first word, write down. Oh, first two words, write it down, because then you're employing all of the senses, right? All the submodalities of learning. And the more you stack those on top of each other, the more you really take in what you've learned or heard, and you actually do learn it. It actually does become a part of you, right? So if you write down those things that you want, your desires, your intentions, then you see it. So you're employing visual cortex, right? You see it, and then you say it out loud, right? And you say it in your mind silently. Now you hear it, right? So you got seeing, auditory, and you got the pen in your hand, you got the paper that you wrote it down on, you're physically touching it. And now kinesthetically, you got the feelings. So you see, hear, feel, and now that becomes such a part of your mindset. And so it doesn't leave. Because if you don't have it as a dominating thought in your mind, your brain's not going to say, this is very important to you. I'm going to go to work at making this happen. That's why you want it to be a dominating thought in your mind. And that's why some people will have negative thoughts as dominating thoughts in their mind. That's why they end up, they end up creating negative circumstances in their lives. You probably know people who are on a constant basis, they're creating drama or negativity. How do they do that? You almost have to look at their life and say, man, how are they creating this negativity and all these bad things happening? Now, sometimes things just happen to any and all of us, and we have no control over that. Now, some people are they have negative things as dominating thoughts in their minds, and you don't want to have that. So write it down. You want it to be a dominating thought in your mind. Bob Proctor calls them goal cards, right? He's got goals written on a card, and he keeps it in his pocket. He carries it with him wherever he goes. He's in line somewhere. He reads his goal card. Right? He keeps reminding his brain, this is what's important to me. This is the direction I'm going. This is what I want to achieve. And you want to be thinking about that. So who knows what it would be? You had written on your goal card, I need this. I want to make this amount of income. I'm going to have this in 12 months. I'm going to have this prosperity in 12 months. I'm going to have this amount of money. Now you're in a thought process of having. Because if you're constantly thinking about debt, you're going to be in debt the rest of your life. That's going to be the dominating thought of your mind. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to create that. So get a goal card. You know what? I'm going to do that tomorrow. I got to start carrying a goal card with me. I'm going to write that down. I have a tennis match tomorrow. And when I go, I'm going to be carrying a goal card with me. Write some goals down. I don't care if you don't have them yet. Write something down. with a time frame on it that's measurable, that's achievable. Carry that with you. Bob Proctor talked about, I listened to Earl Nightingale tapes all the time. Earl Nightingale was really one of the forefathers of the personal development, self-improvement field. And his recordings are out there. I mean, you are what you think about all day long. And that was his message. The Strangest Secret is one of his audio tapes. The Strangest Secret. You are what you think about all day long. And then, of course, The Secret came out by, I forgot her name, but they came out many, many years later. But the original, The Strangest Secret, Earl Nightingale, go check it out. He's one of my mentors, right? You got to have mentors. Mentors are essential in this life. You got to have mentors. You can have a mentor for your tennis game. You can have a mentor for your finances. You can have a mentor for your business. You can have a mentor for your workouts in your gym. But mentors are essential. And what is mentorship? It's the transferring of wisdom. I'm sure in some regard, some area of your life, you've focused on it so much for so many years, you are in a position you could mentor somebody else in certain things that you're an expert at because that's what you focused on. As Tony Robbins used to say, everybody is my superior in some way because they have focused on different things than I have focused on, and I can learn from them. And that's a great attitude to have when you meet people. Because you don't meet strangers, right? You change your attitude. Strangers, no. These are just friends that I haven't met yet. Bob Proctor, he started studying Earl Nightingale's recordings long ago, man, in the early 60s. He studied Think and Grow Rich, and one of the principles in Think and Grow Rich he said was the most important was imagination. And they talk about creative imagination in that book, Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. In the 30s, that book was written. And he was tasked with studying the most successful people in America and how they got to where they got. And he was tasked to take 10 years plus and to study those people and to write down everything he learned. And that's what became in Think and Grow Rich. And it's a great book that I'm going to reread again. I've read it probably 5 times. But we got to get to the higher faculties of life to increase the quality of our life. Most people go through their life just by their senses, right? What they see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, right? We see, we hear, smell, taste, and touch. 5 senses. All animals live their life and they operate through their senses. Now, we are a little different. We were created in God's image, right? God gave us dominion over the creatures of the earth. We were created to be creators. We were created to create. And so we're able to create. We have higher faculties. And those faculties are 6 of them, right? Perception, will, reason, imagination, intuition, and memories. All the other creatures are completely at home in their environment. We are the only creatures that we are totally disoriented in our environment. And why is that? It's because we were gifted. We were born gifted with the faculties to create our own environment. It's just that nobody taught us how to do it. No one teaches us how to do it. The school doesn't teach you. Your family doesn't teach you. The church doesn't teach you. We have to teach ourselves how to change our perception, our will. And if you can change your perception, you change your life. So important. John Kennedy asked, this was so awesome. John F. Kennedy asked Dr. von Braun what it would take to build a rocket ship to take man to the moon and bring him home safely to Earth. And von Braun answered him with 5 words. The will to do it. That's what it would take to build a rocket to take mankind to the moon and bring him safely back to Earth. The will to do it. That's all. Will. I don't know what drives you. I don't know. I think we're all born with a drive. I think I've had a drive for some reason, since I was 12 or 13, I think everybody must be born with a certain drive. I had a drive that was fired up, that was, Bob Proctor talked about it too. He was very thin in school, pushed around a little bit like I was. And so I was driven. I had, what do they tell you in school, right? My parents tell me, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Words will hurt the hell out of you, right? Words were killing me in high school. Bag of bones, all the names they called me. And I didn't want to be skinny. I wanted to be strong and powerful. I wanted to play on the football team. I wanted to be with my friends on the basketball team. And I was driven. And then I had a couple mentors. I didn't even pick them. They picked me. Frank Ruane, right? One of the coaches, the gym instructors. Cliff, this weight room is available to you every day after school. Rome wasn't built in a day. Start right now where you're at. And I had a fire in my belly. I started reading every powerlifting magazine, every muscle magazine. I took everything in. I couldn't gain weight. What can I do to get these calories in? I started force feeding myself. I was drinking a gallon of milk a day. Then I got working at a supermarket, and then I was having 6 quarts of milk a day, whole milk. Eventually, I went from 130 to 180 in 1 year. 50 pounds I gained. A lot of it was fat. I didn't care because now I was 50 pounds heavier. I created that. I didn't care about the health. I wanted to be strong. And so, man, I was just force feeding myself all these calories and lifting heavy weights. And it worked. 50 pounds. But I had mentors. A couple I didn't pick. A couple coaches that took me under their wing. And then they told me. They found me. It's like God, you don't find God. God finds you. You just have to be in obedience to God. You don't go after God and pick him. God already picked you. The will to do it. You have to have the ability to hold the picture on the screen of your mind and nothing else. That's how you create a dominating thought, and that's how you implant it on your subconscious mind. You have to hold that picture on the screen of your mind, nothing else, totally focused. Focused energy gets increased. It increases vibration. We are vibration. The law of the universe is vibration. The will gives you the ability to concentrate. Let's talk about intuition. That's one of the most important things. People will ask, how do I improve my intuition? You can improve your intuition. Believe me, you can. Intuition picks up vibration and translates it in your mind. Your mind picks up vibration and translates it. When we start operating with these higher faculties and we learn how to use them, we start to improve the quality of our lives. Man, I'll tell you, in the 60s, there were just a few publications, right? The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale. We had Think and Grow Rich. Maybe it was The Magic of Believing. Power of a Positive Attitude. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Andrew Carnegie. We just have a few. Now there are thousands in this field. Thousands. But people, they don't know how to use the information that's in the books now. The books have all great information. There's thousands of books on these subjects. Self-improvement, personal development, psychology, philosophy for a better life. But people are never taught how to use the information. And what it is the higher faculties. We have to learn those higher faculties and how to utilize them. And once we do, we will be transforming the quality of our lives. We have to focus on perception, how we perceive, changing our perception, our perspective, intuition, the will, reason, imagination, and memory. Everybody has a perfect memory. It's just weak. And I find that to be true. My mom and my wife always tell me for years, Cliff, you have a photographic memory. And I used to think to myself, I don't have a photographic memory. I mean, I do have a good memory and I work at it. But then I started adopting it myself. I just started telling other people, I have a photographic memory. I'm able to do that because I have a photographic memory. And you cannot believe that one thing, that one self-talk by telling other people how much my memory actually increased, how much it improved. Not even put anything into practice except saying that to other people. Yeah, I have a photographic memory. It's true. This is true. I have a photographic memory. And so that was my expectation, that my memory would be fantastic. And just that alone had a big impact on my memory. Changing perspective, man. That's it. Perception is a mental factor. Now, Bob Proctor talked about write this down. If you have a problem or a challenge, he said, like for him, it was like he had a seminar subject that wasn't quite perfect. He needed to change it, or maybe he put in as an example, I need this amount of money to buy this building. He says to write it down, write the challenge, the problem, and then put it on the table and look at it and keep thinking and asking questions. Is the problem in me or is it on the paper? Try to get it out of you and onto the paper. Get the problem out of you onto the paper. You want to look at it and work at it till it's on the paper. Get it out of yourself until you can look at it objectively like a stranger would look at it, right? Unemotionally. And then you want to look at it from the other side. How would this person over there look at it? Then maybe you want to move yourself physically to another end of the table. And then you ask, how would Napoleon Hill look at this, right? How would Martin Luther King look at this? What would it could be somebody dead or alive. How would they look at it? What would the different perspective be from that person? You want to look at it from the other side of the table. And you want to pick people and ask them, how would they handle it? Could be someone. What are you doing? You're shifting your perception. And as you change your perception, you eliminate the problem. The answer is there. As you change your perception, your perspective, you eliminate the problem. The answer is there. So important. Focus, energy, vibration. You're in a coffee shop and somebody behind you is staring at you. And you feel it. Why? Why do you feel it? Feeling is a conscious awareness of vibration. That's why you feel it. Because the person is staring at you, they have focused, they've concentrated their vibration on you. And when you concentrate vibration, it increases the intensity of it. And that's why you can feel it. Now, I've created it the reverse way, right? I've stared at somebody in a grocery store, and all of a sudden they turn around. They could feel me looking at them, right? Maybe you've seen it on TV or in movies, right? There'll be like a person, even a peeping Tom will be outside of a house, and the lady inside will feel, I feel somebody staring at me. Someone's watching me. They feel that energy, that focused energy, the vibration. Even from outside the house, they feel it inside the house. That's how powerful our vibration can be. You know, when somebody walks into a room, their vibration can be so high, and then if our feeling is awareness of vibration, we are totally aware that somebody just walked into the room with increased vibration. We may say increased energy, or light up the room. Man, when you walk into a room, man, you light up the room. They have an increased vibration they're putting out there. And that's something we can create also. It's so weird. Try that. Try staring at somebody. Stare at them from behind and watch them turn around. They know somebody's staring at them. It's so weird. But it's a good way to realize how much you can increase your vibration by focusing, right? Concentration increases the vibration. As you learn how to utilize these higher faculties, you start to learn how to increase the quality of your life. And you start to see why you're God's highest form of creation. When you start increasing your knowledge and skill in these higher faculties, you start to see and understand why You are God's highest form of creation. Man, that's powerful. Write that down. You should write it down. Take a note, everybody. A great author said, God will feed every bird, but he's not going to put food in their nest. They got to do it. You got to do it. He's not going to do it for you. You've got to do it. God is not going to do it for us. He's already done his part. I've talked about this before. God's done his part. Now it's up to us to do our part. It says in the Bible that we are able to make ourselves prosperous. We are able to make ourselves prosperous because God's already done his part. Now it's up to us. Now it's up to us, people. Do it. Take the action. God's not going to do it. We've got these higher faculties. We got the higher faculties, and we've got to learn how to utilize them. Intuition, man, it's a feeling that you pick up. Intuition reads feelings, and you're reading vibration. Vibration is the natural law of the universe. Your body vibrates, and we talked about how you walk into a room. You know when somebody else walks into the room, they're vibrating either on a positive or negative way, right? You've said it before, man, that person sucks the energy right out of the room. Why? What kind of vibrations are they putting out there? It's because of their thinking, their thought process that's creating the negative vibrations. Believe me, they can turn it around. They can change how they vibrate. And one thing you want to do, if you want to increase your skill, in intuition, you can do it. You can do it. You can increase your intuition. The first thing you have to do is get your focus off yourself, and you got to totally focus on the other person. If you want to read another person's energy, you got to get your mind off of you and be totally focused on them. Now, I'm taking an improv class. I'm in I can't believe week number 4 is coming up in my improv class. Right? 30 years I was a stand-up comedian, and I thought, well, what am I going to learn at improv class? I can't believe what I've learned at improv class. And it really goes hand in hand with everything I've talked about here today, because in improv class, you are really trained to be in the moment, in the actual scene with the other person that you're acting with. And you really have to be you got to be aware and focused on the other person. To do it right, you can't be time traveling forward or backward. You got to be right here, right now. And there's a couple games that we play, right? We do these things with our hand. We go around in a circle, right? Big fish, small fish. See how it's the opposite? Because now we have to concentrate. We're doing an action that doesn't go with the word that we've been programmed to say. And so now to interact with another person that has the ability to change the direction of the game. So now we really have to pay attention. And these improv games are really good. Excuse me. I had a cough, and it's live. I can't cut that out. But I'm going to have to continue with my improv training, because this is really, I'm just finding the skills I can take to the street. I mean, to my relationships, to my interactions with other people, with my, even just people watching. My God, it's awesome. So we have to focus on the other person. Most people don't do that. You know why? They're more concerned with, what is this person thinking about me? Do they like me? What am I going to say next? They're always what am I going to say in response to this? Instead of actually listening, waiting, listening first to what that person has to say. Then in a split second, we can have choices on how to respond instead of just reacting, or as the person is talking and thinking of what we're going to say next. Forget that. Push it out of your mind and be totally listening to what they're saying. Be in that moment. Don't worry about the words you're going to say in response. You'll come up with those words, believe me. Right now, be totally intent on what they're saying and taking that in. Be open and intuitively reading that person's energy. That's how you're going to increase your intuition. You're going to be reading people without them even having to say anything. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can hardly hear you talking." What do you mean by that? Before you even say a word, I'm reading what you're all about. Your body and your vibration, your energy is telling me everything about you, and I'm reading you. Like reading other people is fantastic, and we can just constantly be increasing our skill to do it. It's exciting, really, because you can practice it everywhere you go. Everywhere you are, you can practice reading other people, increasing your intuition. It can be very fun. Why don't you try doing it tomorrow? I'm Tad. Put it on your goal card. And the thing to do to read people, you got to be relaxed, man. You have to be relaxed. It really goes on with, to be able to tune into somebody else's energy, you got to be totally relaxed. When you're in front of people, when you're in front of a crowd of people and you're going to speak, and I'm thinking about stand-up comedy specifically, I learned this the hard way, man. If you're nervous, if you're scared, the audience knows it. They smell it, they sense it. They're reading that energy. That vibration is so loud. Even somebody who's ignorant to reading people is going to read you as fearful. That's how strong that fear vibration is. People in the back row will feel it, and it is uncomfortable. They don't like it. That's why when we're watching a new comedian up there and they don't know their jokes, they forgot their place, and they're struggling to remember, we feel so uneasy watching them. We feel tense. We're uncomfortable. We're actually matching their uncomfortableness. Now, the next person could come out and totally forget their routine, totally flub up, totally die up on stage, and yet we don't feel uncomfortable because we can feel from them no fear. We can feel the vibration from them is they could give a shit. They don't care. I forgot my line. You know what? They don't care. They're still concerned with performing. They're not thinking of themselves. The total focus is off of themselves and onto us, the audience. And when they do that, we don't feel uncomfortable. And they don't feel uncomfortable, so we don't sense that. And we don't get that vibration. And so when you're going to talk in front of a group of people, the first thing you want to do is get your focus off yourself and how you're doing. You learn this in Toastmasters too, onto the audience and how you're trying to serve them. You're a comedian, you really want to make them laugh. But don't think about how you're doing, right? You focus on them, the person. Totally focused on them. Get it off of you. And when you do, you'll be surprised how all of a sudden now you remember your jokes and your routines, because now you're able to relax. And when you relax, that's when the audience will feel positive vibrations from you and they won't feel uneasy. And then whatever you're talking about, you're going to do well. They're going to think you're a great speaker. That's why, why do you say wow, that person was really interesting? You know why? Because they were interested, right? The most interesting person in the room is the most interested. You want to be interesting? Be interested in people. You want to make new friends? Be friendly. You want to love? Be lovable. You want to be loved? Be lovable. I'll say it again. You want friends? Be friendly. The most interesting person in the room is the most interested. Do you know how to do it? We don't remember people's names. I've been getting better at this, so good at this. You know why? I think because of my improv training, right? I mean, I can remember, it's been 3 weeks now, but I remember Melissa, Shane, Leor, Tyler, Nancy, Bethany, and Kraz is the instructor. I know these people's names reflectively because, well, every week we practice them with each other through games. And you can do that with yourself. When you meet somebody else, you can play a game in your head. You can play a game with them out loud. Tom, I am going to remember your name, Tom, not just because I keep repeating it, but because of your belt buckle reminds me of a friend of mine who has a belt buckle like that. And his name is Tom. You have to wear that belt buckle all the time or I'm going to forget your name. But make a joke out of it. Now you've said it out loud to him a few times. And now you can play that game you can continue to play that game in your own head. And now you can say it silently to yourself. That's Tom, the belt Tom. Tom Thumb. Look at his thumbs. He's got big thumbs. I'm going to remember Tom Thumb. But you'd be surprised how well you'll know somebody's name. Now, I've been doing something that I talked about a few weeks ago from a Mel Robbins podcast where she had moved across the country, and she spent a year crying in her soup about not meeting people. And she said, damn it, I got to get out of this house, off this couch, and I got to get out there and meet people. Damn it, I'm sick of this. And she went to the coffee shop, right? And she got her coffee. Thank you. What's your name? Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you. I just moved in, Kevin. My name is Mel. And when she got to her table, she got in her phone and she made notes in her phone. Kevin, barista, coffee, right? Kevin. Then she met some other people. She got out to her car and she put in her notebooks. Oh, Tom and Barbara. Yeah, they live here in town and they are retired school teachers, right? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes you never have to even look in your... Have you ever done this with your grocery list? You make a list, right? I got to make a list. Whenever I need something, I put it on my grocery list. Bop, bop, bop. Then you got a list of 10 things. And you take your list on your phone or your paper, and you take it to the grocery store. And you know what? Turns out you don't even have to look at your list. The fact of making the list has put it imprinted it on your brain. And then maybe you look at your list to make sure and think, oh, I got everything that I put on my list. You didn't have to look at your list. Now, some people get confused and they think, oh, I don't need to make a list. No, you need to make the list. It's because you made the list that you remembered all those things. So making a list, it's important. I love talking about this stuff. This is life. This is how we increase the quality of our life. I like this even better than politics. Now, I like politics and knowing what's going on in the country, this great country of ours. I like being aware of what's happening, but I also like, figuring out ways that we can be better, do better, become more. Man, I get excited about it. So when you feel my energy increase when I start talking about these things, it's real. It's authentically who I am, right? But we don't remember names because we're too focused on ourselves. Get out of your own head. How do I look? Do they notice a spot on my pants? No, look at them. Focus on them. And I tell you, you'll remember their name if you focus on it. Where focus goes, energy flows, and you'll remember their name. Now, Bob Proctor talked about an attitude that Nightingale talked about in one of his recordings on attitude. I got to go look at that myself. I kind of remember it, but we tend to minimize the things we can do, the goals that we can achieve, right? The things that we can do. We see it in other people and we think, I can't do that. Look what he's doing. I can't do that. No, if they can do it, we can do it. Don't minimize what you can do, the goals that you can achieve. We tend to do that to ourselves. We minimize it. Don't do it. You don't have to do it. Speak it into existence, right? Began with the Word, and the Word was God, and God was the Word. The Word, it's important. God said, let there be light. He spoke it into existence as an example to us, because he created us in his image, as a reminder to us that we are creators. We can speak things into existence. He could have just made light, but no, he said, let there be light, and there was light. He spoke it. The Word first. There was the Word. It's an example to us. And then later on, I was looking at I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk. He wrote a book called Crush It years ago. He was a Russian, his family were Russian immigrants to America. He was first generation American. He became very successful. And he's got Vayner Media Marketing now. And he's just an amazing guy to watch and listen to. And, oh, Kitty, be quiet. I'm almost done with the podcast. All right. I'm live now. You're not going to be part of the podcast. Well, you already are. But Gary Vaynerchuk, and I talked about this before, right? Cutting negativity out. We got to limit our exposures to negative people. That doesn't mean we cut them out completely. We're not going to talk to our family. We're not going to talk to our mom. No, but we want to limit ourselves and limit our contact with negative people. Because then we can get recharged in a positive way in our own way of thinking, which is positive and always growing. And that way, when we get back around those negative people, maybe we can rescue them. Maybe we can pull them into our world. But if we don't, if we just hang too long into the negativity world, we can reach the tipping point and then all of a sudden we're negative with them. And so, no, we can do well right now. We can be prosperous right now. There are a lot of people who were prosperous during Obama. There were a lot of people who were prosperous during Biden. There were a lot of people prosperous back then in Reagan. It's not the negative environment. It's not the negative economy. It's not your negative relatives. It is you who is responsible for your own prosperity and doing well. If anything at all, what I want you to do, putting the notes away. This is just my message to you. Listen, be kind and generous and happy, right? What was the title of this? I forgot to get to that. Yeah, because I am happy. Finally, I get to it, right? I'm happy, healthy, and wealthy. Are you happy, healthy, and wealthy? If you are, that's fantastic. And you're going to want to keep on learning and growing, doing better every day in every way. If you are sad, sick, and broke, and only you know if you're sad, sick, and broke, start changing that right now with the blink of an eye. You can change it with your attitude, the way you think, what you're going to start doing tomorrow. You're going to do it tonight. How do you do today for tomorrow? You write down what you're going to do tomorrow. You can't wait till tomorrow. It's too late. If you wait till tomorrow, you better start writing down what you're going to do the next day. So right now, tonight, start writing down what you're going to change. Maybe you're going to start learning some of those higher faculties. You're going to learn about perception. You're going to learn about intuition and memory and the will. You're going to start increasing your skill in the higher faculties, not just operating from our five senses. And that's my message to you. And if anything, you have the power tomorrow. Matter of fact, tonight you could do it. Be kind to everybody you're in contact with. That doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. You don't limit what people can do to affect you. Like Mel Robbins said, let them. They're going to do what they're going to do. But then, don't forget your part. Let me do your part. Right? God is going to feed every bird, but he's not going to put food in the nest. They got to do it. And you got to do it. God has done his part. Now it's up to us to do our part. You know I love you. I hope you got something out of this episode of the podcast, everybody. I am happy, and I am healthy, and I am wealthy. And, you decide what wealth is in your life. There are people who are making $47,000 a year, and they are on the weekend, they are kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding and spending time with family and friends, and they are totally happy, and they are totally wealthy, and they are wealth beyond just finances. But maybe they're only making $47,000 a year, but they are wealthy, happy. You decide what wealthy is for yourself. I know I'm happy. I know I'm healthy, and I know that I'm wealthy, and you can do the same. And if this had a positive impact on you, please share it with somebody else. All right? Share the link. If you haven't already, you're going to see it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Right there. Subscribe to the channel, everybody. All right. I love you. I will see you in the next episode.